सारी रतारे पूर करो माँ, सारी रताए पूर करो माँ, होती सुमित मेरा नंदन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, ओ मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण। सारे राग विराग हुए अब, मोह सारे त्याग हुए अब, एक यही मेरा बंधन, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण, मेरा जीवन तेरी शरण।
Sitaram, and a warm welcome to each and every one of you here who have found the time to share in this, the first night of our most wonderful Sri Durga Devi Yagya. I must, of course, extend a special welcome to our viewers on IETV and our social media platform. I now hand you over to our spiritual leader, Pandit Dr. Umesh Prasad, who will commence tonight's proceedings. Dhanyavad.
बोले श्री आर शक्ति दुर्गा माता की जय. Let me welcome you devotees to our Navaratri celebrations at the Gyan Deepak. We've gathered and will be gathering for the rest of this week for 7 days to delve into the glories of that Supreme in the form of Devi, that Supreme Energy, that Supreme Spirit. Navratri, the night is known when you get rest. It is a time for deep rest mentally, rejuvenation, and the theme for this yagya I would like to propose is personal transformation. The idea is at the end we should in some way move forward spiritually in understanding who we are and our relationship to this world, to this universe where we find ourselves. I'll begin with a short opening prayer. We'll glorify Devi and then we'll get into the katha for this first night. So I encourage you to relax your mind, maintain focus, and let the power of the mantras, the chanting, words of wisdom soak into you. We concentrate. Dhari Om Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami Agajanan Padmakam Gajananam Aharnisham Anekadantam Bhaktanam Ekadantam Upasmahe Saraswati Mahabhage Vidya Kamala Lochane Vidya Rupe Vishalakshi Vidyam Dehi Namostude Mrityunjaya Rudraya Nilakantaya Sambhave Amriteshaya Sarvaya Mahadevaya Te Namaha Om Namah Shivaya. This evening we glorify Saraswati Devi through bhajan. We can all join together. He Sharde Ma, He Sharde Ma, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ, हे शारदे माँ,
हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ,
हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, तू स्वर की देवी, संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे। तू स्वर की देवी, संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है, हर गीत तुझसे। हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, तेरी शरण हम, हमें प्यार दे माँ। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की वाणी। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा, पुराणों की वाणी। हम भी तू समझे, हम भी तू जाने विद्या का हमको अधिकार दे माँ।
हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ।
तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पे विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पे विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। मन से हमारे मिटा के अंधेरे, हमको उजालों का संसार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ,
हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ।
हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। बोले श्री सरस्वती माता की जय। Now, devotees, for tonight's katha, have you ever wondered that instead of running around behind your own selfish wants, needs, have you ever paused and really had a good think about where you are? So if you just get out of your immediate life, we live on a little island on a huge planet that exists in a solar system, few other planets around, contained within galaxies, huge space that is never ending. Why are we here? What are we doing here? What am I supposed to do? These sorts of questions come to mind sometimes. Now, the way of Sanatana Dharma is not to tell you what to think. It is to tell you the experience of the sages and for you to try to have that experience on your own. It is for you to try to find answers on your own, and you will get to a point where you no longer have any questions. Simply put, everything, if you could conceive of everything, is Shiva. It is a name that means something. Shi means something that doesn't move. And Va, like va-va-voom, Va means that which moves. So everything around you and within you, everything is Shiva, meaning it is made up always of two things. Something that doesn't move, that is everywhere, pure existence, if you will. But we all notice movement, Va. Both are one and the same. It's Shiva. But when we worship Devi, what we are looking at is the Va part, the part that moves. What do I mean by this? We say Devi represents energy. If I were to ask you what energy is, what would you say? What is energy? With my background in physics, engineering, I cannot tell you what energy is. I can tell you what energy does. Let's take an example. If you stand outside, you feel the wind blowing on you. Not so? You feel a force. It pushes you, it moves you. However, do you see anything? Do you see anything? No. It is a force, a movement, energy, but you cannot define what it is. Ask a physicist. Potential energy, kinetic energy, yes, but what is it? I don't know. It causes movement, but what is it? And this, devotees, everything that moves, you shifting back and forth, the movement of your mind, the movement of nature, everything that moves is Va, or energy, that Devi. Now, long time ago, the intellectual level, the scientific discovery of the civilizations, the Hindu civilization, many people couldn't relate to higher level concepts. So what happened is that every different form of energy was personified. And what does personify mean? It means to take an abstract principle and put it into the form of a person. And this is why in Sanatana Dharma you have so many different forms of God. In the Devi case, so many Devis, representing different forms of forces, very subtle, that act in different ways. But because you cannot see it, we have to refer to it in a concrete way. So wind, we call it Vayu, have a little form and whatnot, doing various things. But it is, in its essence, a force. Sanatana Dharma is not about the physical, it is about the subtle. Now, we want to understand who we are in this universe, this world. Where do we look for answers, for guidance? A long time ago, you had the rishis. And a rishi means a seer, or someone who comes to know. So through meditation and through experience, these rishis came to know the truth about this entire universe and all of us. What is that truth? To put it in simple language, devotees, everything is one thing. Everything is one thing. Now, to get the answers that we seek, how to realize this for ourselves, the rishis put this down into the main scripture of Sanatana Dharma. So I'm now going to ask you, what is the main scripture of Sanatana Dharma? What is it? How many of you think it is the Ramayana? Let me see your hand. Bhagavad Gita? How many of you think it is the Vedas? Okay. So, for a long time, the experience of these sages was passed on via oral tradition. The guru will tell the disciple pass it on orally. Only when you had a written word, then things became documented. But language is an oral tradition. Writing came afterward. Now, in Sanatana Dharma, we have two classes for our scriptures. There's a reason why I'm telling you this. You have Srutis. The Srutis. What is Sruti? Sruti means that which is heard. So what the rishis heard are Sruti. And those are authoritative. So the Vedas. And from the Vedas, you have parts called Upanishads. And if you distill the Upanishads, you get it condensed in the form of the Bhagavad Gita. Authoritative. no question. Direct experience. But many people, especially the ordinary people, like you're looking at me now, boring. I can't understand all of these words. A lot of it is poetry, expression of that supreme. But people cannot relate. So the sages in their wisdom created a second line of scriptures called Smriti. And Smriti means that which is remembered, meaning events that happened. Some of them are works of fiction, but do not underestimate the power of narrative for the human mind, the power of story. I could talk all the highest truths, you couldn't care less. I tell you a nice story and it rings true for you. It brings the point home. So what are these smritis? I wouldn't tell you all, but we have basically the Puranas. So you've heard these. Bhagavad Mahapuran, Devi Puran, Shiva Puran, Vishnu Puran, Puranas. And then you have two main itihas stories, which are more historically based. The Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Now, listen to this point I'm making very carefully. If you read something or hear something in a Purana or Itihas, and it does not correspond or agree to what is in the Shruti, ignore it. It is not authoritative. This is Sanatana Dharma. Because you see, the Puranas have all sorts of things in there. And I am not one to believe that everything you read you have to believe. Over time, things were added, things were removed. The first version of the Ramayana is completely different to the versions you have now. You probably have 100 or more. So the point is, understand that these stories are there to serve a purpose. But sorry to say, with time, Hindus and priests have to hold this responsibility, have become lost. Because they think the story is the end goal when the story is just a pointer. You understand? Now, I will tell you that in the various Puranas, you have the highest principles and you also have the highest rubbish in certain areas. You could see it clearly. Ved Vyas, who is the author, is not really a man, but really a group of individuals. Over time, just changes things. And dare I say, a group of men. There's history. So, telling you this, what I'm going to do is present this katha, especially for younger Hindus, in a different sort of way. Same thing, but a little different. I'm going to use the same story, but spend roughly about half the time on that, and then roughly half the time on explaining what it means to you. What is the practice? We all know what the stories are, but it is time now to move on. Go back a little bit. And just out of curiosity, how many of you here have read the Upanishads? Any one of them? Let me see. Not a single person. How many of you have read the Bhagavad Gita? Good. So the Bhagavad Gita, don't worry, you don't have to read the Upanishads. The Bhagavad Gita condenses all that knowledge. But you see, anything else that is social concern, that is just the addition of people. Okay? So I wanted to make this point very clear before I start. And we're going to look at the various stories, but we're going to focus on the only important thing in my mind, which is your personal transformation, your own spiritual development. Okay? So as you listen, at the end, I want you to ask yourself, what does this mean to me? We're not just talking. What does it mean to me? How can I practice? How can I lift myself by myself, as Sri Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita? Okay? So saying, tonight we're going to listen to a particular katha from the first book. There are 12 books in the Devi Bhagavad. We're going to listen to one katha. Now, a katha normally lasts for about 4 chapters, and there's no way I could read every shlok and translate it. The Puranas are written in Sanskrit. So that's another thing. If you hear Pandits reciting Hindi, Arth as it were, that is the commentary of somebody else. So that's another level down. And also, you have no idea what I am telling you. So you have to trust me. I could give you my word that what I'm saying to you is being put for your benefit and your benefit only. No agenda otherwise. I cannot speak for anybody else. So you listen, you get into this story, it captures your mind, but we move beyond that. So what I'll do, I've selected some shlokas that summarize the katha, the story. I'll chant that first. You mightn't be able to understand, but then I'll go on to relate what it means. We still need to keep these traditional, original shlokas. So, let us listen. Dhari Om Namaschandikaya Purachayka Varne Jate Viline Bhuvantraye Sheshaparyamka Sute Cha Deva Deve Janardane Vishnu Karna Malodbhuto Danavau Madhu Kaitabha Mahabalau Chatau Daityo Vivriddhau Sagare Jale Kedamanau Sthitau Tatra Vicharamta Vitasata Tavekada Mahakayau Kridastatkau Maharnave Rathangena Tada Chinning Vishnuna Prabha Vishnuna Jagahanupari Vegena Pratrikshte Shirasitayo Satyam Satyam Punaha Satyam Veda Shastrartha Anirnaya Pujaniya Para Shakti Nirguna Saguna Nirguna Saguna Thava Jai Jai Ambe Ma Bole Sri Adi Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai. The story, devotees. Tonight we listen to this story of Madhu and Kaitabha. Madhu and Kaitabha. Now, as you would know, many of these stories involve some sort of demon. The Devas in trouble. They pray to Devi. Devi destroys the demon. You all are familiar with this, through and through. So now what we do, we go into the details of this story a little bit and try to figure out what it is the sages are really trying to tell us. The sages coded these things up in here for those who are willing to dig. So those of you who like this story, remember, I'm not telling you what to believe. If you believe that happened and whatever, you go ahead. If you want to extract something more for yourself for practice, you go ahead. It is your choice. So you take what you will. A long time ago, in the time of Pralay, that is dissolution, when the three lokas, the entire universe was covered in water, as it were. Now, obviously, this is not physical water. We'll come to that later on. Deva Deva Janardan, Vishnu Bhagwan, was lying asleep on the bed of Ananta, that thousand-headed serpent. While he was lying there, you all know what is wax in your ears? Some people have a lot more wax than others, right? So it is said from the wax in the ears, because Bhagwan Vishnu is lying down there for a period of time, so it must have wax in whatever forming. From the wax of his ears, two very powerful demons, daityas, Madhu and Kaitabha, they emerged from that wax. And they grew in the waters of this ocean and played around, thus passing some time. So they grew powerful, as it were, and after some time, they started to question themselves, as I was mentioning before. We cannot understand what we are really resting on. What is our foundation? We're just here floating around in seemingly infinite water. Who is it that created this? How was it created? Why are we living here? Who created us? Who is our father and mother? We just don't know. So thinking that way, when they couldn't come to a conclusion, Kaitabha spoke to Madhu and he said, "Oh brother, it seems to me that this great immovable force that makes us rest in the water is the cause of everything. This whole mass of water is pervaded by that force. It rests on that. That highest Devi must be the cause of us." When the two Asuras thought about this, they heard in the air the Vagavija or Vagabija, the seed mantra Vak, speech, Devi Saraswati. Then they began to pronounce this Vagavija mantra and they practiced it with great austerity. They were steadfast in their practice. Suddenly, they saw, rising high up in the air, an auspicious lightning, a lightning bolt. And they thought that certainly because of our mantra, this Devi has made herself visible in the form of this light. And so we've seen the Saguna, that form of that invisible force, energy, Saguna, with form before us. And buckling down on their devotions, they constantly thought and chanted that mantra, and they focused their minds and they became one with that Saraswati Devi. 1,000 years passed practicing this great tapasya. When the highest Adya Shakti became pleased with them, and seeing these two Danavas, she appeared before them, and, they heard a voice, so she spoke to them, but they didn't see her, they just saw the light. "O Danavas, I am exceedingly pleased with your tapasya. Ask a boon for whatever you desire. I will grant it." Hearing this, the two demons, they said, "O Devi, please grant us this boon that we will die when we want. We will die when we will." And hearing this, Vagadevi said, "O Danavas, certainly by my grace, you have this blessing that you will die when you want." Now, imagine that you can't die. But if you have a bad mind, you could run around and be a criminal. Nobody could do you anything. So these two started to cause terror. They said they started to play with the aquatic animals in the ocean all around. Because remember, in a big body of water. Some days passed and they came across Brahma, Lord Brahma, Prajapati, seated on this lotus coming out of the navel of Hari. They challenged him. They said, "O Brahma, either fight with us or leave this lotus seat and go anywhere you like. You are weak, we are strong. That seat should be for heroes like us, not for an old man like you." And so they wanted to chase him away. Hearing these words, Brahma became concerned and he thought, if you think of the Shastras, there are 4 means that are normally applied. Sama, Dan, Bhed and Dand. Sama means trying to talk things out, conciliation. Dan means giving a gift, a bribe, right? Bhed means trickery, trying some kind of underhand thing to get your way, playing people. And Dand, war or punishment, the art of war. I'm not suggesting that you do these things, but Brahma thought, well, I do not know their strength and it's not advisable for an old man like me to fight, so I can't, use that pathway. Again, if I try to praise them and talk to them nicely, it will seem as if I am weak, so I don't want to do that. To offer bribes is not advisable. What I want to give them? They're powerful, they can't die, I can't give them anything again. Therefore, it is best that I should rouse the four-armed Vishnu Bhagwan, who is very powerful, from his sleep on the 1,000-headed Ananta serpent. He will remove all of my difficulties. And so, thinking like this, Brahmaji concentrated his mind and he focused on Bhagwan Vishnu. Let us concentrate on Vishnu Bhagwan, devotees, as we chant a bhajan glorifying Vishnuji. Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan, Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan, Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Sriman Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Lakshmi Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Lakshmi Narayan Narayan Narayan,
Lakshmi Narayan Narayan Narayan, Sriman Narayan Narayan, Sriman Narayan Narayan. ब्रह्मा विष्णु महादेव है, त्रिलोकनाथा परमेश्वर है। ब्रह्मा विष्णु महादेव है, त्रिलोकनाथा परमेश्वर है। त्रिलोकनाथा परमेश्वर श्रीमन नारायण
नारायण नारायण, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण।
ओंकारा श्री पालनहारा, सिद्धि बुद्धि बल देवनहारा। ओंकारा श्री पालनहारा, सिद्धि बुद्धि बल देवनहारा। सिद्धि बुद्धि बल देवनहारा, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण
नारायण, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण।
हे जगत्राता हम वंदन है, सुख समृद्धि जय जगवंदन है। हे जगत्राता हम वंदन है, सुख समृद्धि जय जगवंदन है। सुख समृद्धि जगवंदन है, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण
नारायण,
श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण।
श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण।
लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण नारायण, लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण नारायण। लक्ष्मी नारायण नारायण नारायण, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण
नारायण,
श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण, श्रीमन नारायण नारायण नारायण। बोले श्री विष्णु भगवान की जय। And so devotees, Brahmaji glorified Vishnu Bhagwan. But after all of this glorification, guess what happened? Just like some of us, somebody calling you, calling you, calling you. If you are sleeping, you're getting up. Can't wake up. Vishnu Bhagwan was said to be under the force of Adya Shakti, Mahamaya, Yoga Nidra. Nidra means sleep. Yoga Nidra. And so he wasn't moving at all. He wasn't getting up. And so Brahma thought to himself, what to do? What to do? And so he turned his attention now to Mahashakti, to remove this yoga nidra from Bhagwan Vishnu. And so he praised that Devi in his own way, and with full concentration, Brahmaji concentrated all of his attention, his focus on that Supreme Devi, and eventually that Supreme Mother, Devi Ma, Yoga Nidra, she appeared before him and she said, "Don't worry, I will remove this Yoga Nidra and Bhagwan Vishnu will arise." So saying, so done, Bhagwan Vishnu opened his eyes, let out a loud yawn, and he got up. When he saw Brahmaji there, terrified, and spoke to him, he understood what was happening. We had Madhu and Kaitabha, these two demons that were challenging Brahmaji. And so Vishnu Bhagwan said, "Don't worry, Brahma, I will go and destroy these two demons." So Bhagwan Vishnu, Madhu and Kaitabha now fighting each other. We come to this point. First, the demon named Madhu became very angry, and he came up quickly and started to fight with Vishnu, while Kaitabha, like tag team wrestling, Kaitabha remained behind. And then when Madhu had enough, he came back and Kaitabha went, and he started to fight. But the problem is, it was only one Vishnu. So these two, could get a little break because they play in tag team, but Bhagwan Vishnu alone was fighting. So this fight went on for a long time, and these two Danavas didn't feel tired at all. But it is said 5,000 years passed, and Bhagwan Vishnu, well, by that time he must get tired. So he became tired, and he started to think, well, how could we destroy these? What should I do? What he decided to do is, he said, "Listen, Madhu Kaitab, we need a break. In war, if people are tired, they need to take a little rest and then come back again to fight. We can't continue this continuous fighting." And so that's what they did. They decided to take a rest. And Bhagwan Vishnu went and he was taking his rest while these two demons said, "We're waiting for you. We're going one side. We'll come back just now." Now, Bhagwan Vishnu thinking what to do, he remembered that Supreme Devi who had him under this Yoga Nidra, that same Devi could solve this problem he has with this Madhu and Kaitab. So he decided to praise that Devi. And again, he prayed to that form of Devi as Mahakali, Bhuvaneshwari Mahakali, this giver of boons who destroys all of these demons. And so he praised that Devi, and that Devi appeared before him and said, "Oh, Vishnu, don't worry. I will help you destroy these demons. What I will do is when they are fighting, I will appear one side and I will distract them. And I will distract them in such a way that you'll be able to destroy them." So devotees, quickly, let me wrap up this story. Time is going. It's a pretty long story. Bhagwan Vishnu went back to fight and Devi appeared there. But men, when they have a lady around, they like to, show off. So Bhagwan Vishnu saw that opportunity and he used a nice tactic. He said, "Listen, Madhu Kaitaba, you are fighting very well. I want to give you a blessing. I want to give you a boon." Now, out of the corner of their eyes, Madhu and Kaitab seeing Devi there. They said, no, because they're looking bad now. They say, "We don't need you to give us anything. We want to give you a boon." So they want to bless Vishnu. So Vishnu said, "Fine, good. Tell me how to kill you, and let me kill you." And Madhu and Kaitab realized the stupid mistake they made. They had no choice. So what happened? They said to Lord Vishnu, "All right, You pull a smart one on us. We will tell you how to kill us. You cannot kill us in the water. You have to kill us on dry land. Now, you remember, they're in a whole thing of water, just water everywhere, as per the story. So where to find dry land? Bhagwan Vishnu, as it said, grew in size and expanded his thigh. And it became like a nice stretch of land. So these two, Madhu Kaitab, they came there and they tried to put the head, but they're smart. They started to swell their head. They started to grow inside, a good few yojan. Both of them swell their head bigger and bigger. But Bhagwan Vishnu is Bhagwan Vishnu. The thigh get bigger and bigger. And so no matter what they did, their heads fit on the thigh of Bhagwan Vishnu out of the water. And it is said Bhagwan Vishnu took his Sudarshan Chakra and cut off the head of Madhu and Kaitab. Okay? Now, I should mention that, while they were fighting around, Devi appeared there and, she looked at them. She had a piercing look, as it were. And she looked at them fighting, but in a way they were sort of distracted while they were fighting, somebody watching you. You're riding a bicycle by yourself, good. The neighbor come out, you watch and you ride in the drain. You tend to behave differently when you're being watched. So Devi played this instrumental role of distracting them away. And so Bhagwan Vishnu was able to kill these two demons of Madhu and Kaitab. And so to wrap up what it is said, the sum and substance of this, the wise people say, we should all serve Mahamaya with all our hearts. The Supreme Shakti should be worshipped. She should be worshipped anyhow, either in her Sagun form or in her Nirgun form, whichever way you can relate. But that Supreme Shakti is the basis, the cause of everything. She makes things happen. Bole Sri Ar Shakti Durga Mata Ki Jai. Now, that's the story I mentioned. We have about 20 minutes, and we spend some time analyzing what in the world does this mean. So some people are happy with, good, Devi solved all my problem. Start a sing a bhajan. But it doesn't solve anything permanently for you. You feel good for a while, but what is the permanent solution, the permanent practice? So remember, we are focusing on inner transformation. And this I leave now to you. Listen carefully. Bhagwan Vishnu is asleep under the influence of Yog Nidra. In this story, in this context, Vishnu represents the individual mind with ego. Now, Sanatana Dharma likes to divide up things into many parts. Manas, Buddhi, Chit, Ahankar, different mental focus. You have all sorts of different things. But in essence, the Shiva Rahasya says the mind is a bundle of thoughts. It's just thought. But what is the root thought we all have? I am a person. So now it's time for you to sleep away. Because I am a person, I. But have you ever questioned the source of that I? So in all of us, you sitting there looking at me looking at you, this Vishnu is inside in Yog Nidra. We are unaware of our true nature. We are asleep. Okay? This is the starting point. Some of you actually asleep, and some of you, we say, spiritually asleep. Because you think you're a person. I'm going to die one day. You have all these thoughts in your mind. Okay? And this is the problem we find ourselves in. Now, Madhu and Kaitab emerge from the wax of Vishnu's heirs. What is wax? Wax is a mala. What happens is your heirs, you produce a substance that moves dead cells and bacteria and whatnot out. It also stops stuff from getting in. Yes? So it's a form of getting rid of waste from your body. It's a mala. And we know that mala, the root mala that comes when we're unaware, is anavamal. What is anavamal? It means that you and I feel that we are incomplete. We always lacking something. Not so? So you feel you need to go on a holiday to be happy. You feel you need to be with a particular person to be happy. This root dissatisfaction inside of you, feeling incomplete, is what's known as anavamal. And from anavamal, this wax in the air, it gives birth to these two demons, Madhu and Kaitabha. Madhu means sweet, honey, and Kaitabha means a honey bee. So, pleasure and pain. So, Madhu and Kaitab, pleasure and pain in your life. How many of you are always happy? Nobody. How many of you are always unhappy? Well, some people might raise their hand since the budget today and whatnot. But, I mean, you must have a few moments where you're all right. But the nature of life is to suffer with this disease, as it were, of Madhu and Kaitabha, coming out of this airwax, our Navamal. Now, there are other things that have to do with the air, the vestibular system, balance, etc., that we could go into, but I don't want to make it complex. So I just use this one interpretation for now. Okay? We go with that. Now, you have this problem in life. What does it cause? You see, devotees, you have to understand your own psychology, right? Everybody here has two fears, born from Madhu and Kaitab. So Madhu and Kaitab are not really pleasure and pain by themselves, you know. They are the fears caused by pleasure and pain. What? Madhu, when sweet or good things happen to you, you have the fear of not getting what you want. You want more, you're afraid you don't get it again. Kaitabha is pain, and it's like aversion. You don't want to experience that at all. You go by the dentist, you feel some pain, I don't want to go back now. Pain, we avoid it, and this is the fear of avoiding what we don't want. So everybody here is suffering from Madhu and Kaitabha inside, the fear of not getting what you want and the fear of losing what you have. And without going into the details, devotees, this gives rise to all the other, what we call Shadaripu, different impurities inside. So for example, when you get what you want, you become greedy, lobha. You get mud, pride, arrogance. When you don't get what you want, you suffer from, envy, matsarya, krodh, you get angry. So it gives rise to all of these things, Madhu and Kaitabha. All right. Properly bored yet? So, you see, devotees, a lot of people are uncomfortable with trying to focus what's going on inside of you. It is easier for you to look outside and focus on something, some action, feel happy, but when it comes to what is going on internally, you have no clue. And I'm saying, whether you're on the path of bhakti, jnana, karma, raj yoga, whatever, the journey, as you've always heard, is always inside. And when you actually start to take that journey, you realize it's not boring at all, because the work that you have to do is now starting. So don't let your mind distract you. Okay? Don't let the yoga nidra overcome you. Okay? So now that we have this is the problem. What these two do, they attack Brahma. Brahma, sitting peacefully, is your peace of mind. Brahma is your creativity. When you're overcome by these two fears, devotees, you can't function properly in the world, no spiritual development. These two demons attacking your internal Brahma, your peace of mind, your creativity, your ability to function, your ability to solve problems. You're frozen. That is the problem. So, as I said before, what to do about it? The solution is to wake up Vishnu to fight. So what we need to do is to wake up this Vishnu inside. How? Vishnu cannot kill these demons by himself. He has to appeal to Mahakali. Now there's a difference when we say Kali versus Mahakali. When we say Kali, we talk about the force of change, of time. Time is a measure of change. But when we say Mahakali or Maha anything in the scriptures, we're talking about that supreme spirit, that oneness, the basis of everything. Okay? So he appealed to Mahakali, which means that what we need to do as we all asleep is first of all become aware that there is something bigger than yourself. Do you believe that? There is something bigger at play than you. These forces in nature, as I always like to say, you are not growing your body. You're not actually doing anything. It's almost like you're a passenger in a vehicle in your head. You're just witnessing all of these things happening. You feel you're making decisions, but a bigger system is at play. So this is Mahakali. And what happens, Devi stares at these Shumbhanishumb, and Shumbhanishumb stare at this Devi. What this means, devotees, as you go through life, there will come a point when you're tired. You're really tired of this pleasure and pain, up and down, things working, things not working, a happy, a sad. And what you do is you now glance and think about something bigger. The basis, the meaning of all of this. And this is Mahakali. So this is where in the story Mahakali comes in. And Devi also represents that longing. Mumukshutva as the word is used. That longing for achieving that state. Getting out of this pleasure pain sort of cycle. And so Vishnu Ji, he appeals to Mahakali. She helps him out. And then he tricks the demons now into giving up how to kill them. So what does he do? Simply, Madhu and Kaitabha cannot be killed in the water, meaning in your mind, in your subconscious. These things run very, very deep, these fears. What you have to do is you have to bring them to land. Water, means sensuous, means driven by your senses, the world. That has to be moved to solidity. Okay? Land, the thigh of Vishnu. So in your mind, what this means is that you have to now focus and really contemplate on what is going on in your mind with these two fears. For everything that you do or every reaction that you have, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Don't just say, I'm feeling jealous, I feel guilty. To feel jealous, to feel angry, these things are natural. But what you can't do is stop them from overpowering you. But there is no way to address this unless you could really focus inwardly and find the cause, the madhu and kaitabha, for these things that are going on in your own mind. Okay? So Vishnu Bhagwan is demonstrating actually that this land here is thigh. Put madhu and kaitabha on that. Bring them firm and focus on them. And use Sudarshan. Su means good or strong, and darshan means vision. Right focus on these two and cut their heads off. Cut it off at the root. The heads might try to grow, but you grow. They're going to fight back and challenge you. But keep that focus on them, and eventually you're going to cut them off. And when you cut them off, then Brahma is happy. You have the blessings of that Mahakali. That peace of mind that you're always looking for will become yours permanently. Okay? Right. So this is the inner meaning of this story. It is a technique. So those of you who are here on Sunday, you would remember the Sangraha Shlokas. The first chapter in the Bhagavad Gita, two armies fighting. Same thing. Everything you read, this internal fight is ancient. It is the nature of life to have these two things just fighting against each other. When we say duality, we mean two things always. Things don't come in one, they come in pairs. Happiness, sadness, praise, blame, etc., etc. Okay? And how to get away from this, if you recall, you have to pull back, focus, become the witness of this inside of you, and now with this extreme focus, start to cut off the head of Madhu and Kaitab, these two fears that exist within you. Okay? So, let me wrap it up like this. Why did I read this katha today? I read this katha because it is the starting point for everybody. We all have Madhu and Kaitab inside of us. We struggle to defeat them. What do we need to do? You need to, first of all, recognize that Mahakali, there is something bigger at play, bigger than yourself, that supreme self. Secondly, you need to take action by Sudarshan Chakra. This laser-like focus, bringing the mind into contemplative focus, is the first step. So to put it simply, there are only three main spiritual methods. Contemplation, 2, prayer, and 3, meditation. Nothing else. Rituals and all these things just support. This we are talking about, the first night, is contemplation. Have you contemplated really your life, what it is you're doing? Have you contemplated why you're like a monkey all over the place, your mind all over, driven by Madhu and Kaitabha? Do you want to sit and contemplate and bring these into laser-like focus, and with Sudarshan Chakra, cut off their heads, address this pleasure and pain problem that you always have to deal with? You see? So, if I were to ask you, what did you learn from the Katha tonight? What did you learn? Devi killed Madhu Kaitab, well, Lord Vishnu, with the help of Devi, is that it? You have a technique now to begin. This technique is a technique, is simply put, of contemplation. It begins by the way you think and what you focus on. Stop so much focusing on the outside and focus on the inside. And recognize these two fears at play within you. Ask yourself why. Always ask yourself why. And once you do that, that is the starting point of starting to eradicate, get rid of this Madhu and Kaitab that is always stealing your peace of mind. Okay? So, in terms of personal transformation, it is technique. Everything is technique. It doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter how much you read. The only thing that matters is what you do. So, the lesson and the practice for today, begin, reflect on this katha. You wouldn't remember, if I didn't tell you the story of Madhu and Kaitab, you might remember anything. But at least you remember Madhu, Kaitab, one is sweet and one is what? Insect. So, you remember one is pleasure, one is pain. One is the fear of pleasure, one is the fear that you get with dealing with pain. Okay? So, with this, I will leave you this lesson tonight, and as we move on, we will cover other such stories and lessons that give us practices to do for our own personal development. Before I conclude, let us glorify Devi one more time. Glorify Saraswati Mata, since we began with her. The Devi, the energy of creative problem solving. जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती शरणागत प्रतिपालनहारे शरणागत प्रतिपालनहारे जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती शरणागत प्रतिपालनहारे शरणागत प्रतिपालनहारे जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती चंद बिम समवदन विराजे चंद बिम समवदन विराजे शीश मुकुट माला गलधारी शीश मुकुट माला गलधारी जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती वीणा वाम अंग में झूले वीणा वाम अंग में झूले श्याम गीत ध्वनि मधुर पियारी श्याम गीत ध्वनि मधुर पियारी जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती श्वेत बसन कमलासन सुंदर श्वेत बसन कमलासन सुंदर संग सखी शुभ हंस सवारी संग सखी शुभ हंस सवार, जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती। ब्रह्मानंद मैं दास तुम्हारो, ब्रह्मानंद मैं दास तुम्हारो, की दर्शन पर ब्रह्म दुलारी, की दर्शन पर ब्रह्म दुलारी, की दर्शन पर ब्रह्म दुलारी। जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती, शरणागत प्रतिपालन हारे, शरणागत प्रतिपालन हारे। जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती, जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती, जय जगदीश्वरी, जय जगदीश्वरी, जय जगदीश्वरी माता सरस्वती। बोले श्री सरस्वती माता की जय।
Holy Shri Mahakali Mata ki jai. Devotees, as we continue the journey, let us visualize. We have heard of Mahakali. So we have this wonderful Sagun Roop. Sagun means with qualities. That infinite, which is difficult to identify with. Nirgun, without qualities, becomes Sagun, with qualities. So this form of Kali Ma, many people are afraid, and a lot of negativity with respect to Kali Ma. Kali Ma is that same all-powerful energy, Adi Shakti. So what I will do at this point, I just want to perform Kavach. These wonderful compositions by the sages of the past. This is taken from Rudra Tantra. Very powerful. Now you just concentrate on Mahakali Ma. And you can simply Om Krim Kaliyai Namah, Om Krim Kaliyai Namah. If you know the Kali Ma Gayatri, yeah. Om Mahakale cha vidmahi smashan vasine cha dhimahi, tannu Kali prachodayat. That's long, more difficult. So Om Krim Kaliyai Namah. And we sort of surrender ourselves. Let that energy, remember everything you heard is energy. Let that energy pervade our very beings. And remember, that energy, if we tap into it in the right way, it can do anything for us. Now many of us who are ill, physically and otherwise, if we tap into this special energy, we can remove, or we can have these negativities removed. It all depends on us. We have to be proactive. We have to be proactive. So at this point, I want you to we say surrender yourself. You have to understand what it means. And let this powerful composition pass through you as it were, that powerful energy. And it can do wonders. It depends on you. Visualize Mahakali Ma. Om Tat Sat Sri Ganeshaya Namah Arkalika Kavacham Kailash Shikhar Asinam Devademam Jagadgurum Shankaram Paripachaha Parvati Parameshwaram. Parvati Uvach Bhagwan Devadevesha Devanang Bhogada Prabhu Prabhu hi me Mahadeva Gopyang Chediri he Prabhu Shatru Nang Yena Nashah Syad Atma Rakshanam Bhavet Paramaishwaryam Atulam Labhe Dinahi Tadvada Bhairav Uvach Vakshami te Mahadevi Sarvadharm Vidangvari Adbhutam Kavacham Devyaha Sarvakam Prasadhakam Visheshatah Shatrunasham Sarvaraksha Karandanam Sarvarishta Prashmanam Sarva Bhadri Vinashanam Sukhadam Bhogadam Chaiva Vashikaranam Uttamam Shatu Sangha Kshayang Yanti Bhavanti Vyadhi Piditaha Dukhino Jvarinas Chaiva Swabhishta Druhinas Tatha भोग मोक्ष प्रदम चैव कालिका कवचम पठेत। ओम अस्य श्री कालिका कवचस्य भैरवीषि अनुष्टुप छंदः श्री कालिका देवता शत्रु संहारार्थम जपे पाठे विनियोगः। अत ध्यानम ध्यायैर्कालीं महामाया त्रिनेत्रं बहुरूपिणीं चतुर्भुजां ललज्जिह्वां पूर्णचंद्र निभाननां नीलोत्पलदलश्यामां शत्रुसंगविदारिणीं नरमुंदं तथा खड्गं कमलं च वरं तथा निर्भयां रक्तवदनां दंष्ट्रालिघोररूपिणीं साथासाननां देवीं सर्वदा च दिगंबरीं शवासंस्थितां कालीं मुंदमालाविभूषिताम् इति ध्यात्वा महाकालीं ततस्तु कवचं पठेत्। ओम कालिका घोररूपा सर्वकामप्रदा शुभा सर्वदेवस्तुता देवी शत्रुनाशं करोति मे। ओम ह्रीं ह्रीं रूपिणीं चैव ह्रां ह्रीं ह्रां रूपिणीं तथा ह्रां ह्रीं छौं छौं स्वरूपा सा सदा शत्रुन् विदारयेत्। श्रीं ह्रीं ऐं रूपिणीं देवी भवबन्ध विमोचनी हं रूपिणी महाकालीं रक्षास्मान् देवी सर्वदा। ययः शुंभो हतो दैत्यो निशुंभश्च महासुरः वैरीनाशाय वन्दे तां कालिकां शङ्करप्रियां। ब्राह्मी शैवी वैष्णवी च वाराही नारसिंहिका कौमार्येन्द्री च चामुण्डा खादन्तु मम विद्विषः। सुरेश्वरी घोररूपा चन्दमुण्डविनाशिनी मुंदमालावृतांगी च सर्वतः पातु मां सदा। ह्रीं 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 कालिके घोरे दंष्ट्रेव रुधिरप्रिये रुधिरापूर्णवक्त्री च रुधिरेव नावृतश्चनि मम शत्रून् खादय खादय हिंस हिंस मारय मारय भिन्दी भिन्दी छिन्दी छिन्दी उचाते उचाते द्रावय द्रावय शोषय शोषय स्वाहा। ह्रां ह्रीं कालिकायै मदीय शत्रून् समर्पयामि स्वाहा। ओम जय जय किरि किरि कितिकित कर्कट मर्द मर्द मोहय मोहय हर हर मम रिपुन् ध्वंस ध्वंस भक्षय भक्षय त्रोटय त्रोटय यातु धानां चामुण्डे सर्वजनान् राज्ञो राजपुरुषान् स्त्रियो मम वश्यान् कुरु कुरु तनु तनु धान्यं धनं मेष्वान् गजान् रत्नानि दिव्यकामिनीः पुत्रान् राजश्रियं देहि यच् छां छिं छुं छैं छौं छः स्वाहा। एत्येतत्कवचं दिव्यं कथितं शम्भुना पुरा ये पठन्ति सदा तेषां ध्रुवं नश्यन्ति शत्रवः। वैरिणः पलयं यान्ति व्याधिता भवन्ति बलहीनः पुत्रहीनः शतवस्तस्य सर्वदा सहस्य पठनात् सिद्धिः कवचस्य भवेत् तदा। तर्कार्याणि च सिद्ध्यन्ति यथा शंकर भाषितां श्मशान आंगारमादाय चूर्ण कृत्वा प्रयत्नतः पादोदकेन पिष्ट्वा तल्लिखेलोह शलाकयाः भूमौ शत्रुहीन रूपान् उत्तराशिरसस्तथा हस्तं दत्वा तु हृदये कवचं तु स्वयं पठेत्। शत्रोः प्राणप्रतिष्ठां तु कुर्यान्मन्त्रेण मन्त्रवित् हन्यादस्त्रं प्रहारेण शत्रु गच्छ यमक्षयम्। ज्वलद आंगारतापेन भवन्ति ज्वलिता भृशं प्रौशनैर्वामपादेन दरिद्रो भवति ध्रुवं। वैरीनाशकरं प्रोक्तं कवचं वश्यकारकं परमैश्वर्यदं चैव पुत्रपौत्रादिवृद्धिदं। प्रभातसमये चैव पूजाकाले च यत्नतः सायंकाले तथा पाठात् सर्वसिद्धिर्भवेत् ध्रुवं। शत्रुर्चातनं याति देशार्वा विच्युते भवेत् पश्चात् किंकारतामेति सत्यम सत्यम न संशयः। शत्रुनाश करे देवी सर्वसंपद करे शुभे सर्वदेवस्तुते देवी कालिके त्वां नमाम्यहम्। इति श्री रुद्रयामले कालिका कवचं संपूर्णम्। ओम महाकाले च विद्महे श्मशान वासिने च धीमहि तन्नो काली प्रचोदयात्। काली काली महाकाली कालिके पापहारिणी सर्व आनंद करे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। काली काली महाकाली कालिके परमेश्वरी धर्म आर्थ मोक्ष दे देवी नारायणी नमोस्तुते। ओम क्रीं कालियै नमः। We glorify Devi Ma. Make preparation for the final Havan. Dixit. Simple Kirtan devotees glorify Devi. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma. Kapalini Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma.
Kali Kapalini Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma.
Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma.
Durga Bhavani Ma, Jai Jai Kali Ma.
Param Shivani Ma, Jai Jai Shani 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 Ma.
हे जगत उधारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
जगदारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
हे जगत उधारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
जगदारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
हे दुर्गा भवानी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
दुर्गा भवानी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय अंबिका माँ.
परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय अंबिका माँ.
परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय चंडिका माँ.
परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय चंडिका माँ.
ओ जय जय अंबिका माँ.
जय जय अंबिका माँ.
ओ जय जय चंडिका माँ.
जय जय चंडिका माँ.
हे परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय अंबिका माँ.
परम शर्वाणी माँ, जय जय अंबिका माँ.
हे जगत उद्धारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
जगदारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
हे जगत उद्धारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
जगदारिणी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
हे दुर्गा भवानी माँ, जय जय काली माँ.
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 बोले श्री महाकाली माता की जय. ओम गंगनपतये नमः स्वाहा. श्री गौरी माता स्वाहा. ओम श्री पृथ्वी माता स्वाहा. श्री पंचलोकपाल देवाय स्वाहा. ओम नमो नारायणाय स्वाहा. ओम नमः शिवाय स्वाहा. ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय स्वाहा. ओम श्री सूर्यारि नवग्रह देवाय स्वाहा. ओम श्री ब्रह्मग्नये नमः स्वाहा. ओम ह्रीं श्रीं चंडिकायै नमः स्वाहा. ओम क्रीं कालियै नमः स्वाहा. श्री महालक्ष्मी माताभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा. ओम श्रीं ह्रीं सरस्वत्यै स्वाहा, ओम श्री ईश्वरी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री परमेश्वरी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री शीतला देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री महाअन्नपूर्णा देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री मंगला देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री चंदी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री मनसा देवी स्वाहा, ओम ह्रीं षष्ठी देव्यै स्वाहा, ओम श्री तारा देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री षोडशी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री भुवनेश्वरी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री छिन्नमस्ता देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री भैरवी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री धूमावती देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री मातंगी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री कमला देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री हेमावती देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री सिद्धेश्वरी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री कल्याणी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री कात्यायनी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री ऐन्द्री देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री अग्निरूपा देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री वाराही देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री खड्गधारिणी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री वारुणी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री मृगवाहिनी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री कौमारी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री शूलधारिणी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री ब्रह्मानी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री वैष्णवी देवी स्वाहा, श्री माहेश्वरी देवी स्वाहा, ओम श्री ब्राह्मी देवी स्वाहा, सर्वदेवीभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री हनुमते नमः स्वाहा, सीतारामचंद्राभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा, राधा कृष्णाय नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री इष्टदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री कुलदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री अष्टान देवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री ग्राम देवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री इतर कर्म प्रधान देवाय स्वाहा, 5 times again, ओम श्री वास्तुदेवाय स्वाहा, ओम श्री 33 करोड़ देवताभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा, ओम सर्वदेवता सर्वदेवीभ्यो नमो नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री अनंत स्वरूपाय ब्रह्मणे नमः स्वाहा, ओम श्री गुरुवे नमः स्वाहा. Please all stand, devotees. We concentrate on Bhagwan Shankar, Devi Ma, Purnahuti. Om Jayanti Mangala Kali, Bhadra Kali Kapalini, Durga Chama Shiva Dhatri, Swaha Swadha Namostute, Jai Tvam Devi Chamunde, Jai Bhutarti Harani, Jai Sarvagate Devi, Kal Ratri Namostute. Om Namah Shambhavaya Cha Mayubhavaya Cha, Namah Sankaraya Cha Mayaskaraya Cha, Shivaya Cha Shivtaraya Cha, Om Namah Shivaya. Om Purnamidah Purnamidam, Purnat Purnam Udachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Sarvam Vai Purnagvam Swaha. Achman. Om Sarva Papaharang Dibyam, Gangeyang Nirmalam Jalam, Achmanang Chamaya Dattam, Grihitam Purushotamaha, Brahm Agnaye Namaha, Achmanam Samarpayami. Bow to the flame 5 times. बोले से आद शक्ति जगदम्बा माता की जाए. Will now take part in Aarti devotees. Jai Ambe Gauri Maya. Yojitam Maya Deepam Grihan Devi Shetayokit Mirapam Deepam Samarpayami.
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया,
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया,
जय मंगल मूर्ति मैया, जय आनंद करनी, तुमको निश दिन ध्यावत हरि ब्रह्मा शिव रे.
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया, जय
मांग सिंदूर विराजत तीको मृग मद को, उज्ज्वल से दो नैना चंद्र बदननी को.
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी
समान कलेवर रतांबर राजय रक्त पुष्प गलमाला कंठन पर साजय।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
के हरिवाहन राजत खड्ग खपर धारी सुर नर मुनि जन सेवत तिनके दुख हारी।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
कानन कुंडल शोभित नासाग्रे मोती कोटिक चंद दिवाकर समराजत ज्योति।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
शुंभनि शुंभ बिदारे महिषासुर घाती धूम्र विलोचन नैना निषदिन मद माती।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
चंड मुंड संहारे शोणित बीज हरे मधु कैतभ दो मारे सुर भयहीन करे।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
ब्रह्मानी रुद्रानी तुम कमला रानी आगम निगम बखानी तुम शिवपत रानी।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
तुम हो जग की माता तुम ही हो भरता भक्तन की दुख हरता सुख संपत्ति करता।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
64 योगिनी गावत नृत्य करत भैरो बाजत ताल मृदंगा और बाजत डमरू।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
भुजाचारी अति शोभित वर मुद्राधारी मन वांछित फल पावत सेवत नर नारी।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
कंचन थाल विराजत अगर कपूर बाती माला के तुम राजत कोटि रतन ज्योति।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
श्री अम्बे जी की आरती जो कोई नर गावे कहत शिवानंद स्वामी सुख संपत्ति पावे।
जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया। जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया। जय अम्बे गौरी मैया, जय श्यामा गौरी मैया।
शिव हरे शिव राम सखी प्रभु त्रिविध तप निवारण हे विभु। अज जनेश्वर यादव पाहि मां शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरं। शिव हरे विजयं कुरु मे वरं। प्रतिदिनं कुशलं जय मङ्गलं। प्रतिदिनं कुशलं जय मङ्गलम्। ओम मंगलम भगवान विष्णु मंगलम गरुध्वज मंगलम पुंडरीकाक्ष मंगलाय तनुहरि। ओम आवाहनम न जानामि विसर्जनम पूजां चैव न जानामि क्षम्यतां परमेश्वरी गच्छ गच्छ्रेष्ठ स्वस्थाने परमेश्वर यत ब्रह्मादयो देवास्तत्र गच्छुतासना ओम लाभस्तेषां जयस्तेषां कुतस्तेषां पराजया येषाम् इन्दिवर्षामो हृदयस्तु जनार्दन ओम सर्वेषां स्वस्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां शान्तिर्भवतु सर्वेषां पूर्णं भवतु सर्वेषां मङ्गलं भवतु सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः सर्वे सन्तु निरामया सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत् प्रथमं शैलपुत्री च द्वितीयं ब्रह्मचारिणी तृतीयं चन्द्रघन्तेति कुष्माण्डेति चतुर्थकं पंचमं स्कन्दमातेति षष्ठं कात्यायनीति च सप्तमं कालरात्रीति महागौरीति चाष्टमं नवमं सिद्धिदात्री च नवदुर्गाः प्रकीर्तिताः मंत्रिहीनं क्रियाहीनं भक्तिहीनं परमेश्वरी हे देवी यत्पूजितं मया देवी परिपूर्णं तदस्तु मे ओम असतो मा सद्गमय तमसो मा ज्योतिर्गमय मृत्युर्मा अमृतं गमय ओम गच्छ त्वं भगवन् अग्निस्वस्थाने कुंड मध्यतः हुतम् आदाय देवेभ्यः शीघ्र देहि प्रसीद मे ब्रह्म अग्नये नमः ओम त्वमेव माता च पितः त्वमेव त्वमेव बन्धुश्च सखा त्वमेव त्वमेव विद्या द्रविणं त्वमेव त्वमेव सर्वं मम देव देव ॐ शान्ति 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 हरि ओम बोले श्री गजानन स्वामी की जय आदिशक्ति जगदम्बा माता की जय उमापति महादेव की जय पवन पुत्र हनुमान की जय उदय शाह जगन्नाथ की जय बोलो भाई सब संतन की जय बोलिए श्री स्वाहा माता की जय बोलिए श्री सत्य सनातन धर्म की शुभमस्तु Blessings to all. Kindly be seated, devotees.
Sitaram, the standards have been set and we have tasted the batter of the cake. As we mark the beginning of a period of intense devotions and sacrifice, gratitude is immediately needed. To the Paramatharya, Pandit Haridev Prasad, who graciously presided over Bedi Puja, thank you for bestowing your mantra Shakti upon us all. To Pandit Dr. Umesh Prasad, thank you for leading us in devotions tonight. We are fortunate to have you, our spiritual leader, recovered and well, to officiate for the duration of our Devi Yagya. We appreciate and hold dear the knowledge that you have imparted onto us tonight and highly anticipate the upcoming sessions. We, the members of Gyandipak, are thankful to the audiovisual team for allowing you, our viewers on IETV and online streaming, to be a part of our devotions. Commendations to those who have chosen to personally gather with us in congregational worship. We are always happy for the opportunity to concrete our bonds at Gyandipak. We look forward to joining with you each night as we continue in our spiritual journey. Meals have been prepared and can be collected along with prasad to the front. Do have a safe commute back home. Sitaram.